Hi everyone, and welcome to this webinar run by the University of Reading. This evening's webinar is going to be all about applying to university with a BTEC qualification, and we're going to be doing a Q&A with one of our current students as well. This evening we are joined by a current student and one of my colleagues. So just to introduce ourselves quickly, my name is Louise and I'm a Regional Student Recruitment and Access Officer at the University of Reading, and the region that I look after is London. I'm also joined by my colleague Rachel this evening. I'll just let her introduce herself now.
Perfect, thanks Louise. Yeah, so my name's Rachel. I'm also a Student Recruitment and Access Officer, very similar to Louise, but I work with colleges a bit more closer to Reading. Thanks again for joining us, and I'll be on the line answering your questions.
Amazing, thank you, Rachel. We're also joined by one of our current students who studied a BTEC before they studied with us as well. I'll just let him introduce himself now.
Hello everybody, my name is Thomas and I'm in my third year and final year of studying Bachelor's in Food Science.
Amazing, thank you, Thomas. Okay, so I'm now going to hand over to Thomas.
Perfect, so just a little bit about me. As I said, I'm a third year food science student, currently studying for my bachelor's degree. I am originally from Plymouth in Devon, and before applying to university, I completed a level 3 extended diploma in applied science, but more specifically like the biomedical sciences modules.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much, Thomas. A couple that have come through that I will bring to you now, Thomas. Somebody has asked, how is studying at University of Reading different to studying a BTEC?
Yeah, so one of the best things which transition from BTEC is that you can really specialize. So even within the BTEC, so I did biomedical sciences, so this I still had to cover kind of the A-level standard of chemistry, biology, and a touch on physics. And there was a more of a set syllabus, whereas for university, some subjects there's really an opportunity to specialize. So within my degree, I have core modules which I have to do, and they take up a certain percentage of my degree, and there are optional modules which I can pick and choose based on what I am interested in. So, and these things can change when you arrive at university. So initially I thought I was really interested in food law and the legal side of food manufacturing, and then when I came to university I found out that's not for me. I can't remember all of the laws. I'm actually interested in the more engineering side, and I was able to transition through. So the best thing, one of the similarities is that we can really go in depth into a subject that you love. The main difference between BTEC and university is that there is slightly more of an emphasis on your work. So like A levels is predominantly teacher and teacher led. BTEC has that dynamic of teacher-led learning as well as assignments which you have to do regularly throughout term, and then you have university which shifts that focus more towards assignments. So you still have lectures, and the difference between lectures and being taught is where a lecturer can just stand in the room. It doesn't technically matter to the lecturer if there is one student or 1,000 students. They will stand there and talk about their expertise, whereas a teacher is more involved in maintaining the attendance of students and maintaining the attention of students. And so it's that shift slightly towards independence and being able to apply your knowledge.
Brilliant, thank you, that's great. And that leads on really nicely to another question that has come through. So somebody has asked, do you think studying a BTEC limits you in any way? And then they've said, what were some of the advantages that you found studying a BTEC gave you?
Yeah, exactly. So I have not felt limited in any way by studying a BTEC. I've really enjoyed my BTEC, and what I really enjoyed about it is it gave me the opportunity to study things outside of the A-level syllabus, and these things have been helpful within my degree. So an example I kind of mentioned initially is I was able to learn more about the analytical machinery used within chemistry. And then I had, within the second year of my degree, I had a 30 credit module, so that's about a quarter of my year, on these techniques and the application within food science. So an A-level student wouldn't have got that experience or interest within that side of science, whereas I was able to experience this, and it really helped me within my course. Yeah, and so just more on the advantages, it really helps being able to do assignments as you're being taught. What you'll find is that lots of people at university, they're used to A-levels, they're used to exams where they have one day or so many hours to blurt out an essay or an exam, whereas the BTEC gives that more realistic emphasis of working, so you do have an extended period of time to work on a assignment. We still have exams. Some courses have more exams than others, or more of a weight on exams. It depends what you enjoy. But just that ability and being used to doing assignments alongside your teaching is really helpful, and often people struggle with that, and you'll still see people realizing the day before in a big assignment's due that they have got to start it, whereas I've never had that just because of the experience of studying BTEC.
Brilliant, that's great. But another one that's come in is somebody saying, you know, will I be disadvantaged if I've not done exams in a while? And do you have any top tips to how to prepare for an exam if I've just come from a BTEC where I've had 2 years of kind of assignments and coursework-based learning?
One of the things that comes with it is that lots of students currently, especially in the first year, aren't used to exams, and exams within, like, most students have experienced GCSEs. GCSE exams are extremely different to university exams just because there's difference in timescales. And this happens, so people who study international qualifications before entering university, they'll be used to a different exam format, and it's something that everyone gets used to. There's lots of exam practice, so there's lots of examples of the past exams within an archive for each module, which you can look at just to understand what type of questions they will ask. There's more of because your lecturers are the ones who set your exams, you know, you can have more help from your lecturers by asking them questions during the teaching. So one of the big things I felt when I was doing GCSE maths, especially with the newer syllabus, is one of the big problems is the teachers didn't know what the standard would be, whereas at university there's an understanding and there's lots of support available. And yeah, don't be afraid about taking exams at university. You are prepared. Yeah, you have your degree to get used to it. I hadn't written an essay since English because none of my courseworks were essay based, and I had an assignment first year, which just allowed me to understand how to write a university standard essay. And so there's lots of things that you learn. Another big thing is references for assignments. BTEC students often are used to referencing. A-level students aren't necessarily used to referencing in their work, and so there's lots of different things that you get used to, and it's all part of the experience of university.
Perfect, that's great, thanks Thomas. I've got another question that's come in, and I'm going to direct this one to Louise. Somebody has asked if if I'm studying a BTEC and the course I want to study doesn't allow or accept BTECs, could I do a foundation course in order to then progress onto that other course? So I'll give that one to Louise to answer.
Yeah, this is a really good question, and a foundation degree can be a really good option to gain access to going on to do a full degree if maybe you don't meet the requirements of just going straight into the full degree. If in terms of whether or not the course does or doesn't allow BTEC, I would really recommend that you go onto UCAS or the university website directly to check the entry requirements for the course with the foundation year. If you do wish to do a foundation year, many universities do accept BTEC, but some do offer foundation years where they don't, so it is important to check. With a foundation year, it's usually the case that it's lower entry requirements than just going fully fledged into the degree. And it's also the case sometimes that they won't ask for the same subject specific requirements that they might have on the full degree programme, because they are starting from a slightly more beginner level. So for example, at the University of Reading, we have foundation degrees in things like chemistry, psychology, agriculture, and many more as well, and you can find them all on our website. We do accept BTEC on a lot of our foundation degrees, and we express the entry requirements for them, and they are lower than our usual degrees, but we still do ask for, you know, certain grades in BTEC, A-level, GCSE, whatever it might be, but we might ask for we might not ask for the subject specialism that the full degree covers. So doing a foundation degree can give you a lot more options, but just as a normal degree, I would still really recommend that you check directly to see what those entry requirements are, to make sure that you do fit them.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Louise. And now another question for you, Thomas. Somebody's querying, you know, when you got to university, did you find yourself in your class, or I guess even who you live with, just surrounded by people who'd done A-levels, or actually by the time you got to university, was it just a bit irrelevant and no one really noticed and everyone was all equal to one another? So I'll give that question over to you to share your thoughts.
I think one of the key things about once you get to university, it doesn't matter what qualifications you had beforehand, you have been accepted onto the course. So you could technically receive the minimum entry requirements and outperform students who get technically like 3A stars. Once you get to university, it's all about your work at university, and that's what really matters. The only time that you kind of hear about people doing A-levels versus BTEC is just at the beginning of the course. It's meant in the nicest way possible. People are trying to do icebreakers where they say, "Oh, what A-levels did you do before university?" And so that's the only time it really comes up. People ask just because it's a common question that lots of people have experienced. It's an easy way to introduce yourself or just know a little bit about someone. So I've never had anyone turn their nose up at me by doing a BTEC. Even if the people did, they're probably not the best people to be around, because yeah, and anyone who goes to university and the people that you want to be around understand that it's that next step, it's what you do at university that matters.
That's great, that's really useful to know. Yeah, and yeah, I think mostly, I know from my experience when I was at university, everyone I came across anyway was really open-minded, and everyone comes from various walks of life, and that can be what they've studied before going to university, but other things as well. So yeah, it's a real diverse group of people you'll meet, and that could be academically speaking or through cultures and different backgrounds and things like that as well. Brilliant, thank you so much. I'm just having a little look to see if any other questions have come through. So one more here that I've got is, what was the best thing that you did to prepare for university, Thomas? And I guess that could be with your BTEC hat on, or it could be something else you think actually was really valuable that you did that you'd like to share with people who've joined us today.
I think the best thing to do before starting university is get a form of additional experience, whether that's a minor experience just working in a shop or a bar, or whether that's a work experience to do with your subject. I cannot tell you how beneficial the experiences that I had while studying at university, alongside like the national competition or the work experience. Those experiences allowed me to get into different roles, and what you'll find is that once you get into a role such as like a student ambassador or a course rep, it's easy to maintain that, but it's just about getting that initial step. So I'd always recommend getting stuck in with as many things as possible, finding out what you're interested in. Like that maybe via a sport or work experience, and then you can use that experience to help you at university. Yeah, I think that just getting stuck in, really try. It's important to try within your BTEC to get the best grades that you can, and then see that through and to your degree.
Brilliant, thanks Thomas for that. I think maybe the final question that we've got here is, why did you pick to study at the University of Reading? What was it about University of Reading that made you want to apply and drew you in to study?
One of the key things, so I went around a couple of universities who do food science. I was quite fortunate that food science isn't necessarily offered at every university. So I looked at kind of subject specific leaderboards that are published online, which helped me guide like some of the universities that I wanted to go to. And then it was really about the going to the university open days, experiencing the campus. And what really sold it for university to me is often I like to see that when you're at an open day, they're not just showing you something because it's a fancy piece of equipment, then that the students will actually use it. I remember going, like even at secondary school, they would show like a laser printer, which only 1% of students would use throughout their time there. Whereas at university, when I went to University of Reading, we have a big pilot plant which is used to manufacture small scale food, and I had a tour there by students, and they could go through each piece of equipment, say, I used this in this practical, I learnt this about this, and just by knowing that University of Reading utilises their the equipment available to their fullest and utilises it by students, not just for research purposes, really sold it to me.
Brilliant, that's great. That's great, Thomas. Thank you for that. Somebody's just asked, Thomas, when you got to your course, did you find there were other people who'd also studied a BTEC and applied science?
So when I arrived at university, I knew people. I found people who did study BTEC, but I also found people who studied French baccalaureate, the international baccalaureate. So there's such a diverse range of people who come to university that it's not just people who did A levels or BTECs. So I'm aware that I'm aware of people who did BTEC who are doing like the same course as me, or people who lent more into like the biomedical science, which is probably what my BTEC was supposed to lead into. So I'm aware that from my BTEC, I could have gone into pretty much any of the sciences here at Reading without a problem. And I've met people who did the same qualification as me, even on open days, etc. Yeah, I've met people, but then you would meet people who've done kind of every kind of qualification imaginable at university.
Brilliant, thanks so much, Thomas. That's great. So no more questions have come through, so we will finish the webinar there today. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us this evening. I really hope you found that useful, and a big thank you to Thomas for coming along and sharing his thoughts and his feelings about university and BTEC and that transition. But we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.